I supported my sister during studies. At graduation, she said financial support created extra pressure. When she asked for apartment help, I said, don't want to create pressure. Now she rents with roommates growing up as the older sibling. I always felt this unspoken responsibility to look out for my little sister, Maya. We weren't exactly rocking matching Nike outfits and skipping down the street holding hands, but we had each other's backs when it counted. Our parents did their best, but with Dad's Chevy repair shop barely staying afloat and Mom's health issues, there wasn't much left over for college funds. I got lucky and landed a solid tech job right out of high school. No cap, I was making decent money by the time Maya was ready for college. When she got accepted to her dream university, I saw her face light up, then immediately fall when she realized the price tag. That night, I found her at our kitchen table with a calculator and a bunch of student loan brochures spread out like a depressing paper fan. Hey, what are you doing? I asked, grabbing a Bud Light from the fridge. Just trying to figure out how many decades of debt I'm signing up for, she said, not looking up. I took a long swig and made a decision right there. Put that stuff away. I got you. Maya looked at me like I'd just offered her a winning lottery ticket. What do you mean? I mean, I'll help with tuition. You focus on studying, not on how you're gonna pay for it. The way she hugged me that night, man, it felt like I just handed her the keys to the kingdom. For the next 4 years, I sent her money every month. It wasn't always easy. I had to say no to weekend trips with friends, drove my old Honda instead of upgrading, and my apartment was about as fancy as a gas station bathroom. But seeing Maya's excited texts about her classes made it worth it. I never wanted her to feel like she owed me anything. Whenever she'd get all serious and say, I'm going to pay you back every penny, I'd just laugh it off. Just graduate and get a sick job. That's all the payback I need. She did great in school. Dean's List, internships, the whole 9 yards. I was proud as hell watching her grow into this confident, smart woman with crazy big dreams. Then came graduation day. Drove 6 hours to be there, got all dressed up in my one good suit that I basically only wear to weddings and funerals. Watching her walk across that stage in her cap and gown, I felt like I'd done something right in this world. After the ceremony, our whole extended family went out to this fancy Italian restaurant to celebrate. Everyone was passing around breadsticks and singing Maya's praises like she was the second coming. Uncle Rob kept raising his glass of Chianti, toasting the first college graduate in the family. While Aunt Linda asked about her job prospects every 5 minutes, that's when it happened. Cousin Brittany asked Maya how she managed to graduate with honors while working part-time. Actually, Maya said, taking a sip of her sparkling water, I was really fortunate. My sister covered most of my expenses so I could focus on school. I smiled, feeling that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when someone acknowledges your help. But then she continued. Everyone thinks it was easy with financial support, but it actually created extra pressure. Like, I felt I had to get perfect grades because someone else was paying. It was kind of stressful, honestly. The table got quiet for a second. I felt my smile freeze on my face like I'd just taken a bite of something unexpectedly sour. Did she really just say that? That my help, which came at a significant personal sacrifice, was actually a burden to her? I didn't make a scene, just took a long drink of my water and changed the subject. But something shifted inside me that night. Update. Okay, so I'm sitting here replaying that dinner scene in my head for like the 100th time. Was I being too sensitive? Maybe she didn't mean it how it sounded? But then why say it in front of our whole family? I've got this knot in my stomach every time. I think about those 4 years of tight budgets and sacrifices. Did I actually make her college experience worse somehow? What would you have done in my shoes? A week later, Maya called me. We hadn't really talked since the graduation dinner, just a few basic texts. I was scrolling through Netflix trying to decide between rewatching The Office for the millionth time or starting something new when my phone lit up with her picture. Hey, what's up? I answered, trying to sound normal. So, I have some good news. Her voice was all bubbly with excitement. Remember that marketing firm I interviewed with? They offered me the job. That's awesome, I said, genuinely happy for her. When do you start? In 3 weeks. The pay is better than I expected for an entry-level position, but her voice trailed off. Here it comes, I thought. I need to find an apartment closer to the office. I've been looking online and there's this perfect 1-bedroom about 10 minutes from work. It's a bit pricey, but it's in a safe neighborhood with a gym and everything. Sounds nice, I said, keeping my tone neutral. Yeah, it is. But the thing is, I need to put down first and last month's rent plus a security deposit. That's basically my entire savings and then some. I waited, knowing exactly where this conversation was headed. I was wondering, Maya's voice got that hopeful tone, the one she'd used since we were kids when she wanted to borrow my clothes or get me to cover for her with our parents. Would you be able to help me out with the down payment? I promise I'd pay you back as soon as I start getting paychecks. The words from the graduation dinner echoed in my head. My financial support had created extra pressure for her. 4 years of helping her, and that's how she saw it, as a burden. I don't think that's a good idea, I said slowly. What? Why not? She sounded genuinely surprised. I don't want to create extra pressure in your life. What pressure? I need help. Her voice rose slightly. This apartment is perfect, and I don't want to lose it. It's just a loan until I get my first paycheck. But you said my financial support only complicated your life, I reminded her. At graduation dinner, you told everyone how stressful it was to have me paying for things. There was a long pause. I could almost hear her brain working to connect the dots. I didn't mean it like that, she finally said, her voice smaller. You did. Your exact words were that my financial support created extra pressure. I'm just respecting what you said. That's not fair. I was just trying to explain. Look, I cut in, I'm not mad. I just don't want to be a source of stress in your life anymore. You're starting this exciting new chapter, and I think it's better if you do it independently. The conversation ended awkwardly. Maya trying to backpedal, me staying firm. I hung up feeling both justified and guilty at the same time. Over the next few days, Maya bombarded me with texts explaining what she really meant at the dinner. That she was just trying to acknowledge the responsibility she felt, not criticize my help. That she was grateful for everything I'd done, but I'd made up my mind. The words were out there, and they couldn't be taken back. Maybe it was petty, but after 4 years of sacrifice, hearing that my support had been a burden stung more than I wanted to admit. Maya ended up finding a different place, a shared apartment with 3 roommates in a neighborhood that required a 40-minute commute to her new job. She moved in the following weekend, and I didn't offer to help. Our mom called me, not exactly taking sides, but gently suggesting that maybe I was being a bit harsh. She didn't mean anything by it, she said. Then she shouldn't have said it. I replied, "Update. Y'all, I'm feeling like the world's biggest jerk right now. Maya started her new job, and her roommate situation is rough. One's a night shift nurse who meal preps at 3 a.m., another has a boyfriend who practically lives there rent-free, and the third is some wannabe DJ practicing beats till dawn. She texts me these horror stories trying to be funny, but I can tell she's struggling. Am I teaching her a valuable lesson about thinking before speaking, or am I just being cruel to prove a point? What if this damages our relationship permanently?" 3 months passed. Maya and I still talked, but there was this weird tension between us. Our conversations felt stiff, like we were co-workers forced to make small talk in an elevator rather than sisters who once shared bunk beds and secrets. One Saturday, I was at Target picking up essentials when I ran into our cousin Brittany, the same one who'd asked the fateful question at graduation dinner. "Hey, stranger," she called out, pushing her cart alongside mine. "How have you been?" We caught up on the usual stuff, work, dating, the latest season of Yellowstone, then she lowered her voice. "So, what's the deal with Maya's living situation? Aunt Linda said she's in some sketchy apartment with a bunch of randoms?" I shifted uncomfortably. "It's not sketchy, just not what she originally wanted. She's fine." Brittany raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because she was at my place last weekend for brunch and she looked exhausted. Said one of her roommates keeps stealing her food and another one's cat peed on her laptop." My stomach twisted. Maya hadn't mentioned any of this to me. "She'll figure it out," I said, trying to sound confident. "It's all part of the post-college experience, right? Living with weird roommates is practically a rite of passage." "I guess," Brittany said, not sounding convinced. "It's just," she seemed really down. Not at all like the Maya we know. After we parted ways, I sat in my car in the Target parking lot for a long time, thinking, was I taking this too far? Maya had said something thoughtless. Yes, but was it worth watching her struggle when I could help? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about my own first apartment after college, how exciting it felt to have my own space, how it had given me confidence to know I was making it on my own. Was I denying Maya that same feeling just to prove a point? I picked up my phone and scrolled through our text conversations. They'd gotten shorter and less frequent. No more random memes or links to TikToks she thought I'd find funny. Just basic check-ins and surface-level updates. The next morning, I made a decision. I called Maya and asked if she wanted to meet for coffee. She sounded surprised but agreed. We met at this little cafe halfway between our places. When she walked in, I noticed right away what Brittany had seen. The dark circles under her eyes, the slight slump in her shoulders. This wasn't the confident graduate from a few months ago. "How's the new job?" I asked after we got our drinks. "It's good," she said, perking up a little. "Fast-paced, but I'm learning a lot. My boss seems to like my ideas." "And the apartment?" "Her," Smile faltered. "It's fine, roommate drama, but it's temporary." "Brittany mentioned something about a cat and your laptop?" Maya rolled her eyes. "Of course she did. It wasn't a big deal. The cat just spilled some water and most of it missed the laptop anyway." We sipped our coffees in silence for a moment. "Look," I finally said, "I've been thinking a lot about what happened, about what you said at graduation and how I reacted." Maya's eyes flickered up to meet mine, then back down to her coffee. "I shouldn't have said that. It came out all wrong. Maybe. But I shouldn't have held it against you this long either." I took a deep breath. The truth is, helping you through college was sometimes hard financially, but I never regretted it. Not once. So when you said it created pressure for you, it felt like maybe I should have just stayed out of it. "No," Maya said quickly, leaning forward. "That's not what I meant at all. I was just trying to acknowledge that I felt this responsibility to not waste your money, to make you proud. It wasn't a complaint. It was, I don't know, me trying to show I took your help seriously." I nodded slowly. "I think I get that now, but in the moment, it hurt." "I'm sorry," she said, and I could tell she meant it. I've been replaying that night in my head for months, wishing I could take it back or say it differently. "Me too," I admitted. "About how I responded when you asked for help with the apartment. We talked for over 2 hours that day. Really, talked, like we used to. About expectations and miscommunications and the complicated dynamics of money and family. About how Maya felt she was living in my shadow, always the one being helped, never the helper. About how I sometimes felt taken for granted. By the time we left the cafe, something had shifted back into place between us. Not exactly the same. As before, maybe something more mature, more honest. The following week, I called Maya again. "I've been thinking, your lease is up soon, right?" "In about a month," she confirmed. "Why?" What if we looked for a two-bedroom together, split the rent, get a nicer place than either of us could afford alone? There was a pause on the other end. Are you serious? Yeah, I am. My lease is up in 2 months anyway. It could make sense for both of us financially. I hesitated. Plus, I kind of miss having someone around who gets my obscure movie references. Maya laughed, a real laugh. You sure you want to live with someone who knows all your embarrassing childhood stories? I'll risk it, I said, smiling. But full disclosure, I still sleep with that ratty old teddy bear sometimes. Mr. Buttons, I knew it. She was full-on giggling now. We spent the next few weekends apartment hunting together. Found this great place with a decent-sized kitchen and a small balcony perfect for morning coffee. It cost more than I was paying before, but less than we'd each pay separately. Fair deal all around. Moving in together wasn't part of my original plan, but it's turned out better than I expected. We have our moments. She leaves wet towels on the bathroom floor, and I sometimes finish the last of the coffee without making more, but we're figuring it out. The other night, we were sprawled on our new IKEA couch, halfway through a bottle of cheap Cabernet and a Netflix documentary neither of us was really watching. Hey, Maya said suddenly. You know I'm grateful for everything you've done, right? Not just college, but all of it. I know, I said. And this time, I really did. Update. So that's where we are now, sharing an apartment, splitting bills, and slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's not perfect, but it's honest. We actually sat down and made this whole roommate agreement thing like we're in some sitcom, spelling out expectations about money, space, and communication. Maybe we both needed this reset to see each other as equals. Question though, have you ever had a relationship completely transform because of one conversation that went sideways? How did you find your way back? 6 months into our roommate arrangement, and I gotta say it's working better than I thought. We've settled into this rhythm where we have our own lives but still share those little daily moments that make us sisters, not just people splitting rent. Last weekend, we hosted a housewarming party. Nothing fancy, just some friends, family, and enough taco ingredients to feed a small army. Maya made her famous guacamole. The secret is extra lime and a dash of cumin, and I handled the margaritas. Our place isn't huge, but with the balcony doors open and music playing, it felt just right. Toward the end of the night, after most people had left and it was just us, Maya, and a few stragglers, Uncle Rob pulled me aside. You two seem good, he said, nodding toward Maya, who was laughing at something our neighbor was saying. Better than at the graduation dinner. We are, I confirmed. It took some work, but we're in a good place now. He took a sip of his drink and gave me a knowing look. You know, your mom told me about the apartment situation. How you initially refused to help. I felt my defenses rise slightly. It was complicated. I bet it was, he said, surprisingly without judgment. But look, where it led. Sometimes the detours get us where we need to go. I thought about his words long after the party ended, about how Maya's careless comment and my petty reaction had somehow, through all the hurt feelings and awkward conversations, brought us to a more honest relationship than we'd had before. The tie. Next morning, we were cleaning up the aftermath of the party, both moving slow with slight hangovers, when Maya suddenly stopped loading the dishwasher. You know what's weird? She said. If you had just helped me with that first apartment like I asked, we probably wouldn't be here right now. What do you mean? I mean, I would have gotten that one bedroom near work. You'd still be in your old place, and we'd just see each other, for coffee or family stuff. We wouldn't be... She gestured around our shared space. She was right. The very thing that had caused our falling out had inadvertently created something better. Sometimes the universe has a weird way of working things out, I said, handing her another dirty plate. Maya smiled. Or sometimes your sister being petty turns out to be the best thing for both of you. I flicked dishwater at her, and she retaliated by throwing a damp dish towel at my head. Some things never change, even when everything else does. The truth is, we both learned something valuable from that whole mess. Maya learned to be more mindful of how her words affect others, especially those who've gone out of their way to help her. And I learned that sometimes holding on to hurt only hurts you more in the end. Our parents came over for dinner last night. Mom kept looking back and forth between us with this pleased expression, like she couldn't quite believe we'd figured our stuff out without her intervention. Dad just seemed happy to get a home-cooked meal he didn't have to pretend to compliment. After they left, Maya and I sat out on the balcony with our feet propped up on the railing, sharing the last slice of cheesecake. Remember when we couldn't be in the same room without fighting? She asked. Which time? I laughed. Age 8 when you cut the hair off my Barbie dolls? Age 13 when I told everyone at school about your crush on Mr. Peterson? Or a few months ago when you called my financial support pressure? She winced. The latest one. Though to be fair, Mr. Peterson was objectively hot for a math teacher. We laughed, and I felt that familiar warmth of sisterhood that had been temporarily buried under resentment and pride. I'm glad we're here, I said simply. Me too, Maya replied. Even if your alarm goes off 6 times every morning and you never replace the toilet paper roll. Says the girl who uses my expensive shampoo and denies it even though her hair smells exactly like coconut lime verbena. Maya grinned. Siblings, man. Can't live with them, can't actually afford a decent apartment in this economy without them. I finished. True that, she said, clinking her fork against mine. Looking back, I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd just swallowed my hurt and helped her with that first apartment. Would we have ever addressed the undercurrent of tension that had been building? Would she have continued seeing my help as some kind of burden? Would I have kept sacrificing while feeling unappreciated? Maybe things worked out exactly as they needed to. Sometimes you have to hit a rough patch to find smoother road ahead. Yesterday, Maya got a promotion at work, just 6 months in, which is pretty impressive. She came home with a bottle of champagne and 2 pieces of news: the promotion and that she'd be able to start paying me back for college, little by little. You don't have to do that, I told her. I want to, she insisted. Not because I feel obligated, but because I can now. And because what you did for me was important. We compromised. Instead of paying me back directly, she's going to start a college fund for our youngest cousin, Zoe. Pay it forward rather than backward. It feels right somehow. Like we've closed one chapter and opened another, one where we're both giving and receiving, where support flows both ways and pressure is something we talk about instead of silently resent. So yeah, I used my sister's words against her in a moment of hurt. And yeah, it caused some pain for both of us. But in the end, it forced us to say the things we'd been holding back and build something stronger. Sometimes the detours really do get you where you need to go.